already this guy is one of my heroes, I think. Donovan Chapman, just in the brief time that I've got, to get to know you, and hearing from the lady who represents you, who I love, by the way, Bev is one of my favorites. She said that your story was special, and I guess I just didn't realize how special. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you. It's awesome. I appreciate you having me.
And there's just a warm place in my heart anytime we go south. We're talking about the Southland, Alabama. You were born and raised in
Louisiana.
Okay, Louisiana. That's what I thought. Southern Baptist, born again Christian. And when you come in singing like you've been singing, it just warms the heart.
Yeah.
So good.
It wants to get you swinging.
No doubt. And you speak of accountability, and I love that. Giving 11 years of your life in the military, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you were following in a long legacy. That's something your family had done, and you made that decision, and in the Air Force and fighting for our country, but yet you still hold remnants of all that experience. So let's talk a little bit about that and educate people on what that was like for you.
Well, I'll start off with, like you said, from a long legacy. My great-granddaddy was in World War I, lost his leg and had a peg leg, and he came back to northern Louisiana and broke thousands of acres with a mule and a plow. And my grandfather, who was my papaw, and he was a Southern Baptist retired preacher, and he was in World War II. My dad was injured in combat in Vietnam, and I'm the oldest in my family, and I served in the Air Force for right at almost 11 years, and I was a security policeman for 4 years, and then I went to the special operations as a pararescueman, special operations combat search and rescue operator. And I was in Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, Kuwait, been through many countries, and I'm glad to be here.
You were injured, and you've had to pretty much, put your body back together again, and then learn to do what you wanted to do in the way of sharing your message through song. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, when I got out of the military, I had a record deal waiting on me at Curb Records.
Wow.
And Mike Curb was like, if you get out of this last tour alive, which was my roughest tour, I was like, you jinxed me.
Wow.
I got back and signed a 7-album record deal with Mike Curb with Curb Records. We had some hits, and I went to a record label, Category 5. But I was falling apart on the road. I was out doing radio tours. I mean, we're just jamming away. We're hitting 250 dates a year away from home, and I was falling apart. I couldn't hardly play guitar, anymore. That hand, it's atrophied and deformed out, which is actually from a bad injury with my nerves and muscles in my elbow. And I had some really bad messed up vertebrae and disc in my neck. And I was actually becoming paralyzed. So I left the business, and I also had 6 weeks to start my GI Bill. And I said, man, if I let that run away, and lose that, I'll never forgive myself. So I asked out of my record deal while having a record on the charts at number 42 on Billboard. And I went back to Tallahassee, and I started school, and I graduated from Flagler College with a bachelor's in business. And while I was going to college, I went through multiple surgeries, and I went through the multiple darkness of the medications, and having time to think about the darkness of the past, and not being able to do anything that I could do. I fell apart, and I had to went through rehabilitation. So that was my surrender that I sing about in my album, Brotherhood, is that surrender that I'm so proud of, because we all are going to be tested in life. And if anyone thinks they can outrun it, I'm just going to sit back and watch and say, I'll be there when you need me to help you. Because we all will. And I look at every day with the 3 S's. We're going to accept that you're going to struggle, accept to surrender, and accept that you will succeed every day of my life. Because
I love that.
The demons will come back.
Yeah.
The trial, we're in a tough world. It's a tough life for everyone. And everyone's pain is real. And that's why I open my heart, and my management, my record label, we are open arms and working with nonprofits such as Freedom Sings, where I write with veterans across the country, that to give them the help, and through my darkness, that I'm not ashamed of talking about.
You're shining light on it.
Yeah.
You're shining light on it. I love that, because you're helping other people when you do that. And what I love about you and what you've done, and chalk it up to your business background or whatever, you're giving back. Like anything that you do, and the momentum and what you might make on, this record or whatever, you want to give a portion of those proceeds. And that is remarkable, and that is longevity. That is staying power when it's not just about you. It's about the other people, and you get that.
Absolutely. Such as you were just saying, Highway Patrolman, the new single on country radio, half the proceeds of publishing are going to a Texas Highway Patrol officer who is in hardships with financials, raising his cerebral palsy son. They can't afford a vehicle to get him in, to put him into the vehicle with the ramps and the wheelchair and the lockdowns. And so I met him, and I was done with the album, and I wrote the song right there in about an hour and a half in South Texas. Came back to Nashville, we cut it, and I prayed about it and said, okay, Lord, this is the first single.
Yeah.
And so we're generating income for Johnny, my buddy, and we're working through a nonprofit called ThatOthersMayRise.org, where we have an account for Child of the Blue set up so that people can help donate, and that money will be sent to help this Texas Highway Patrolman.
No doubt. May God continue to have you and them. And I tell you what, you are actually working with some pretty remarkable talent. And I know you want to give them some kudos as well. And so he wanted to give you the whole stage. So go ahead and give him an intro then.
Well, absolutely. So that's Eddie K. That's on piano with me. And a little quick story about that. Eddie Montgomery from Montgomery Gentry is a great brother. And I was having a tough time when we pulled out of Afghanistan, and a lot of us that served there were really having a tough time. And Eddie Montgomery and his band reached out and said, come on the road with me, brother. Just come be with your family. And so I went out on the road for a weekend with Eddie Montgomery, and Eddie K is the tour manager, band leader. And those guys took me in, and as I was sitting there just having a tough time, they made me feel, they didn't bother me. They just let me feel comfortable. Like he'll catch on with us.
That's right.
And I became part of the family.
Awesome.
And it's an awesome band. And so I give love to Eddie Montgomery and Eddie K and everybody in his band who's helped me. I feel like I'm back on a pararescue team again. Except we're in music.
Hey, softer landings though. I mean, you were doing like a number there, no doubt. It's so much more fun when we band together and do it together and celebrate together.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes,
you
ma'am.
are to be celebrated. We want people to find you. What's the best way to get your material out there?
My website, DonovanChapman.com, and we're on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook Music, YouTube Music, Amazon, iTunes, any digital distribution.
Everywhere.
Yes, ma'am,
Everywhere.
we're out there. And follow us on our new video on Highway Patrolman on YouTube. We want to get those counts up so them Highway Patrolmans down there are getting fired up.
Yes.
That their story is being told, man.
That's awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
Continued blessings. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Angie. You are
Remarkable.
awesome.
Thank you.